Ladies and gentlemen, let's stop sugarcoating it. Poverty is not just a money problem, it's a mindset problem. You can't build wealth with broke habits. You can't reach freedom while clinging to chains. So if you're serious, I mean dead serious about escaping poverty, it's time to stop doing the things that keep you poor. Personal responsibility is non-negotiable. If you want to escape poverty, the first and most critical step is to stop blaming other people, circumstances, or the past for where you are today. The truth is, the moment you place the blame outside yourself, you also give away your power to change. It's easy to say, I didn't have the right parents, or the economy is unfair, or no one gave me a chance. But the hard truth is that nobody is coming to save you. Waiting for a savior keeps you stuck. Taking responsibility sets you free. When you accept full ownership of your life, your choices, your finances, your relationships, your outcomes, everything begins to shift. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can always control how you respond. You can't choose where you start, but you can choose where you finish. Every excuse is a little lie that makes you feel better in the moment, but costs you in the long run. Poverty thrives in blame, entitlement, and victimhood. Wealth grows in accountability, discipline, and self-awareness. Taking personal responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for things outside your control. It means refusing to use those things as a reason to stay down. Maybe you didn't grow up with money, maybe you were raised in dysfunction, maybe the system is stacked against you, but if you're hearing this message right now, then you have something powerful: choice. You have the ability to choose different thoughts, different actions, and a different path. That is your superpower. Use it. There are people with less education, fewer connections, and more disadvantages who chose to win anyway. Why? Because they decided their future mattered more than their feelings. They stopped negotiating with their excuses. They got up earlier. They studied harder. They worked when they didn't feel like it. They invested in themselves when it was uncomfortable, and they refused to settle for less than what they were called to become. That kind of responsibility is rare, but that's what separates the average from the exceptional. Look at your life right now, your bank account, your habits, your daily routines. Those aren't accidents, they're outcomes of your repeated decisions. If you keep outsourcing blame, you'll keep outsourcing control. If your life is messy, take ownership of the mess. If your finances are out of order, face the truth and fix them. If you're not where you want to be, don't complain, correct it. No one can do it for you. But the moment you say, it's my fault, and that means it's my fight, is the moment you start to win. No matter how broken your situation feels, you are not broken. You are not powerless. You are not stuck unless you decide to be. Personal responsibility is not a burden. It's the bridge to break through. Own your life, because no one else will. To escape poverty, you must shift from being a consumer to becoming a creator. The difference between those who stay broke and those who build wealth lies in how they engage with the world. Consumers spend, absorb, and depend. Creators build, produce, and lead. As long as you stay in the mindset of a consumer, always buying, always watching, always waiting, you are feeding someone else's dream while starving your own. Every time you open your wallet for another quick fix, another entertainment hit, or another distraction, you're making someone else rich. Meanwhile, your own financial and personal potential sits idle, unused, and undeveloped. The consumer mindset is built on instant gratification. It says, I want it now, even if I can't afford it. That mindset leads to debt, stress, and dependence. But the creator mindset sees long-term value. It says, what can I build that will bring lasting return? Consumers ask, what can I get? Creators ask, what can I give that multiplies? When you create, you're adding value to the world, solving problems, and opening doors to income streams beyond just a paycheck. That's the mindset that builds businesses, generates passive income, and creates freedom. Being a creator doesn't always mean launching a company or inventing something new. It can be as simple as learning a skill and offering it to others. It's taking what you know and turning it into a service, a product, a course, a solution. It's shifting from scrolling social media all day to building something meaningful online. It's moving from watching Netflix every night to writing your own story, building your own brand, or developing a plan to improve your life and finances. It's about being intentional with your time, your energy, and your ideas. The world pays creators, it uses consumers. This shift also applies to how you think. Consumers are passive thinkers. They absorb information and react to circumstances. Creators are active thinkers. They ask questions, seek understanding, and design solutions. If all you do is consume news, trends, opinions, and entertainment, you're letting someone else shape your world, you, your emotions, and your future. But if you take control of what you allow into your mind and start creating thoughts, strategies, and goals, you'll take back control of your direction in life. Every successful person you admire once made the decision to stop just consuming what others created and start producing something of value themselves. That decision changed everything. Poverty ends when creation begins. The more value you create, the more income opportunities open up. You stop chasing money and start attracting it. You stop living paycheck to paycheck and start building something that pays you while you sleep. That's not a fantasy. That's the reward of becoming a creator. If you want to break free from lack, stop consuming and start contributing. Every hour you spend mindlessly consuming could have been used to create something that moves you forward. The shift isn't just financial. It's mental, emotional, and spiritual, and it's the foundation of lasting wealth. Proximity is power. Who you spend your time with shapes your thinking, your habits, your expectations, and ultimately your results. If you're trying to escape poverty, but you're constantly surrounded by people with a poverty mind, set people who complain, blame, avoid responsibility, and settle for less, you will either stay stuck with them or eventually be pulled down trying to carry them. The people around you are either your fuel or your anchor. They're either pushing you forward or holding you back. It's not about arrogance, it's about alignment. If your circle doesn't challenge your comfort zone, then your circle is your cage. Success leaves clues, and you can't find those clues when you're surrounded by people who aren't even looking. When you get around winners, people who think bigger, do more, and expect more from themselves, it changes the way you see what's possible. Conversations are different, the energy is different, the standards are higher. Suddenly, laziness isn't normal, excuses aren't accepted, and mediocrity doesn't feel comfortable. You start to feel exposed when you aren't growing, because growth is the standard. That's the power of proximity. It pulls the greatness out of you without asking politely. A lot of people think they can level up by themselves, but growth in isolation is limited. You rise faster when you're around people who are already living the life you want. Their habits become contagious, their mindset rubs off on you, their results become proof that your goals are possible. But to get close to those kinds of people, you have to let go of what's familiar. You may have to distance yourself from relationships that no longer serve your purpose. Not because you're better than them, but because you're committed to becoming better than you were. Proximity also includes what you consume. The voices you let into your life through podcasts, books, social media, and conversations shape your perspective. If you constantly listen to negative, broke, fearful thinking, it programs your mind to stay small. But if you intentionally feed your mind with content from successful, disciplined, forward, thinking people, it lifts your vision. Even if you can't physically be in the same room as high performers yet, you can still surround yourself with their thoughts, strategies, and standards. Your environment includes everything you let influence you. Many people stay poor because they stay planted in toxic soil. They don't realize how deeply they've been shaped by the limitations of their surroundings. The moment you change your environment, you change your possibilities. Proximity gives you permission to dream bigger, take bolder action, and expect more from life. The right people will call you out when you're slacking and call you up to your next level. They won't let you stay average, they won't let you play small, and that kind of accountability is priceless. If you want to grow, go where growth is normal. If you want to win, walk with winners, because who you're around is who you become. Proximity isn't a luxury, it's leverage. Decide with strategy, not emotion. If you want to break free from poverty, you have to stop making decisions based on how you feel in the moment and start making decisions based on where you want to be in the future. Emotion is temporary, but the consequences of emotional decisions can last for years. Poverty thrives on impulse, on reaction, on doing what feels good right now without thinking about what it costs long term. Strategy, on the other hand, is intentional. It's about choosing the action that aligns with your vision, not your feelings. It's choosing discipline over comfort and direction over distraction. When you let emotions drive your decisions, especially around money, you set yourself up for struggle. You buy things you don't need to feel better. You avoid difficult choices because they make you uncomfortable. You procrastinate because you're afraid of failure, but emotion-based decisions almost always lead to regret, debt, delay, or detours. You can't build a better future on emotional reactions. You need clarity, planning, and purpose. Strategic decision making means stepping back, taking a deep breath, and asking, does this move me closer to or further from my goal? Every choice counts. And if you make enough emotional ones, they add up to a life you never wanted. Strategy is about making the hard decisions now so you can live easier later. Emotion says, buy it now, you deserve it. Strategy says, wait, invest it, and let it multiply. Emotion says, I'm tired, I'll skip it today. Strategy says, if I stay consistent, the results will come. Emotion says, this is too hard. Strategy says, this is necessary. Strategic decisions aren't always exciting in the moment, but they pay off later in ways emotion never will. Strategic thinking is what builds businesses, builds wealth, builds legacies. Emotional reactions keep people stuck in cycles of paycheck to paycheck living, always starting over, always behind. When you decide with strategy, you learn how to say no to the wrong things, even when they feel good, and yes to the right things, even when they feel uncomfortable. You begin to manage your time better. You start investing instead of spending. You start moving with purpose, and people notice. You begin to trust yourself more, because you're no longer being tossed around by moods and impulses. Strategy builds confidence. It builds consistency, it builds results. You don't have to be a genius to succeed. You just have to be clear, committed, and consistent. Most people aren't broke because they lack intelligence or opportunity. They're broke because they let their emotions run their lives. They avoid discomfort, chase instant gratification, and run from anything that requires long-term thinking. But the moment you decide to lead with strategy, everything changes. You'll start to see patterns you never noticed before. You'll start making moves that stack and build over time. That's how wealth is built, not with hype or hustle, but with strategy repeated consistently over time. When your emotions scream, but your strategy leads, that's when you rise. Build wealth through assets, not just effort. Hard work is important, but hard work alone will never make you wealthy. If effort alone created wealth, then every person working 2 jobs or doing backbreaking labor would be rich. But they're not, because effort without ownership leads to exhaustion, not freedom. The truth is, you don't get wealthy by trading time for money forever. You get wealthy by building or acquiring things that make money for you, even when you're not working. That's what assets do. They work while you rest. They grow while you sleep. They produce income, appreciation, and leverage that effort alone never will. Most people are trained from a young age to think like laborers instead of owners. Go to school, get a job, work hard, retire someday. That path is about survival, not wealth. It's a system designed to keep you dependent, not to set you free. If you want to escape that cycle, you must shift your focus from labor to leverage. Wealthy people don't just work for money, they make their money work for them. They use their income to buy or build assets, businesses, real estate, intellectual property, stocks, systems, and digital products. These assets don't need them to clock in every day. They produce value on their own. Effort is limited by time and energy. Everyone only has 24 hours in a day, but assets multiply your time. A single investment property can pay you monthly without requiring daily work. A well-designed digital course can sell hundreds of times without you being present. A brand or product you create can scale far beyond your personal output. This is the difference between active income and passive or scalable income. If you only earn when you work, you are trapped. The moment you stop working, your income stops. But if you build assets, you create streams of income that continue regardless of your effort. It's not about abandoning work, it's about directing your work toward ownership. Every hour you spend should be building something that outlives your effort. That means learning to invest instead of just spend. It means sacrificing short-term pleasure for long-term gain. It means thinking like a producer, not just a performer. You can start small, buy a dividend paying stock, learn a digital skill and sell it through an automated system, save up and purchase a rental property, write a book, start a YouTube channel that pays you over time. These are not overnight paths, but they are long-term solutions. You don't need to be rich to build assets. You need to be disciplined. Effort wears you out. Assets set you free. The sooner you understand that, the faster you can break the cycle of working harder just to survive. The goal is not just to work hard, but to make sure your work leads to ownership. When you own assets, you stop chasing money and start attracting it. That's how real wealth is built. Commitment is greater than comfort. If you want to escape poverty and build a life of freedom, wealth, and purpose, you have to be more committed to your future than you are comfortable in your present. Comfort is the enemy of growth. It convinces you to stay where it's familiar, even when you know you were made for more. Poverty is comfortable for some people, not because it feels good, but because it's known. Struggle becomes a routine, lack becomes normal, excuses become a way of life, but commitment calls you out of that. Commitment doesn't ask how you feel, it asks what you're willing to endure. Everyone wants success until it gets hard. Everyone wants wealth until they realize it requires consistency, sacrifice, and decisions that most people aren't willing to make. Comfort says, sleep in. Commitment says, get up and work. Comfort says, take the easy route. Commitment says, take the right route. Comfort tells you it's okay to quit because things got tough. Commitment tells you quitting is not an option because the goal still matters. One of the biggest reasons people stay broke is because they keep choosing what's easy instead of what's necessary. The path to success is uncomfortable. It demands things from you that you've never given, but that's the price of elevation. The truth is, there will be days when you don't feel like showing up. There will be times when you doubt yourself. There will be setbacks, delays, and failures. That's part of the process, but commitment keeps going when motivation fades. Commitment says, even when it's not working yet, I'm not quitting. That's the mindset that separates those who dream from those who build. People who are driven by comfort give up when it hurts. People who are driven by commitment grow through the pain because they understand that progress requires pressure. Diamonds are formed under pressure. So is discipline, so is greatness. You cannot become extraordinary while clinging to ordinary habits. You can't rise while holding on to the habits that keep you stuck. That's why commitment must be stronger than your feelings. If you only act when it's easy, you will always be waiting. But if you move even when it's hard, the breakthrough eventually comes. Every successful person you admire became that way because they chose to stay committed when others gave up. They weren't always smarter, more talented, or luckier. They were just more consistent, more focused, and more determined to keep pushing, no matter how uncomfortable it got. Comfort lies. It tells you that staying the same is safer. But staying the same is what keeps you broke, stuck, and unfulfilled. Commitment tells the truth. It reminds you that growth is on the other side of pain, that success is on the other side of sacrifice, and that you're capable of far more than you've been settling for. You don't need more time, you don't need more inspiration, you need more commitment. Because when you're truly committed, nothing will stop you, not fear, not failure, not fatigue. Comfort keeps you average. Commitment makes you unstoppable.